Today I'm gonna show you how to take your cabinets from this to this. Let's do this. Now, first thing I wanna mention is, if you're gonna be doing the cabinet doors on the bottom, the best thing you could wear are knee pads. You don't wanna be going on your wood floors, on your stone, hurting your knees. Sometimes it could cause you to not have a good night's sleep. So invest in a decent pair of knee pads and that won't be a problem. The most important part of this job is by far labeling everything. You do not want to take off all the doors. This kitchen is small, so we only have 4 doors on the bottom cabinets. If you have a kitchen with 20 doors and 20 handles, you're gonna have a really bad time putting it back if you do not label it. So grab your blue tape, put it on the door. This is door 4 for me, and label it on the inside. On the outside, the doorknob, let's do that. And put a 4. Take the handle off first, which is very simple on most. It's just a Phillips head screwdriver. So things don't get mixed up or lost. What you do is just put the screw back into its hole. And put it to the side. This cabinet hinge is the screw style. So you have a screw on the end that you have to loosen, which is a Phillips. Loosen it a little bit, and as you can see, it slides out. Do the same with the bottom. Slide it forward and out. That simple. Taking out the drawer faces is pretty much the same. So you take off the hardware screws first. Put everything back where it came from. Then you take out the screws for the face. Close it. Just like you did with the cabinet doors, you want to do with the drawer faces. And you want to continue the number just so you won't confuse anything. So this is going to be number 5. Some people want to label the drawer faces the same numbers as the cabinet doors, but the problem is the handles. If you put a 1 on the cabinet doors and a 1 on the drawer faces, how are you gonna know which handle goes to which door? Once you're done taking off the faces and labeling it and exposing your cabinets to all of YouTube, now it's time to start prepping your doors. Now I'm gonna show you how to prep the doors to be ready to paint. Mine is very simple. I have very cheap Formica. All you gotta do is tear it off. That's simple. Ready for paint. The wood door is the same. Just look for an edge that peels out. scrape it. The material that this cabinet door is made of is MDF, and paint adheres to it well. You just have to put a lot of coats. So we're gonna be doing 1 coat of primer and 2 coats of finish. And as you can see, you don't need a garage to do this necessarily. You can do this right in your kitchen. It's not very dusty, not very dirty. That's one door. Do that to the rest, and you're ready to paint. First, you want to make sure that you're starting with the first one. A trick that I like to do is to fold down the hinges, put it down, taking a block and putting it underneath to elevate it, as you can see. So you could get all the edges without it having to touch the paper. Make sure they all are in the same angle. For example, this is the top of the cabinet, this is the bottom. And I'm going to show you why that's important. Now it's time to get your paint ready. This is primer. I'm just using standard flat white paint. I already paint with this paint, so I have my roller on the inside. Pour a little bit on your plate. Now really, there's no science to this. Let me show you how to do it. The first thing you want to do to start, you don't need it too wet. You're going to take your paint and hit the edges first. All the way around. Try to put it a little thick, nice coverage, because we're gonna only do 1 coat of primer. And now we're gonna go in a 45-degree angle and do the edge. Once you do the edge, wet your roller a little bit, and you're gonna go from top to bottom. This part doesn't really matter too much. Just roll it on. Get good coverage. Make sure all the sides are covered. It looks even. Once you're comfortable with how the coverage is, what we are gonna do, we're gonna go from top to bottom on all of them. Do about 50% overlap. If you put a lot of pressure, you'll get lines. And once you feel comfortable with that, you move on to the next. Since we're done with the primer, just put it away. So use any of the rollers or any of the paint. There's nothing worse than you being on the finished coat and you realize you've been doing primer the whole time. After your primer has dried to the touch, you're gonna start applying your second and third coat, which is the paint color you want. I'm using Scuff-X. Scuff-X is a paint that is like a kind of a plastic. I'm getting it in a satin finish because that's the color of all the doors and base in my apartment. It's like a plastic, so when it gets dirty, you can wipe it down. It's easy to touch up, and I want to see how durable is it on my cabinets. I recommend this paint, and I really like this paint. It's super easy to touch up. Same deal. I've used this paint already, so I have the roller inside. The paint is nice and thick. And it goes on thick. 2 coats is way more than enough for MDF. And let's get started. It's gonna be the same deal as before. You're going to roll the outside first. After you roll the outside, 45 degree, you want to paint the corners. Make sure you get that covered well. And then you're gonna want to roll it. See how the paint is going on thick? Now that the paint is dried and you're able to touch it, it's time to install it. Make sure they're going back where they belong. That's why we labeled them in the beginning. And let's start installing them all. Just like before, but opposite. Instead of pulling it, you're sliding it in. There's a screw with a groove on it that has to align with this groove. And it's in. You're done. Don't forget to take off your tape. It looks tacky if you leave it. Start it with your finger. Always start these with your finger. If you're using a drill, start it with your finger. The last thing you want is to cross thread it and have to go to the hardware store or the big box store and find a matching handle. Perfect. And there you have it. We painted the kitchen cabinets. Just a couple of things left to do, like paint the bottom, but already makes a huge difference. If you're looking to make your house or apartment look modern, just take some rollers and paint your cabinets, because now you know how to do it. Thanks. See you guys on the next one.